Hey everybody. I decided to change my topic for today. I was originally going to do a segment on composition, but rather than get into art itself, I decided to touch on something that's been bothering me for a long time, and that's bad art. um, you'll probably ask me, well, gee, Bob, what makes you think it's bad art? What if we think it's good art? I'm not here to actually slander anybody. I just randomly came across some of these pieces on my Facebook feed and decided to use them as examples. And again, if I'm hurting anybody's feelings, I'm sorry, but I just happen to think these are some lame attempts. And I'm going to get into it without continuing to talk too much. I'll be discussing each piece as I go through the slideshow. So here we go. Here's a piece that I actually think is pretty good. I would, if I was decorating an interior and really didn't want to put up a Norman Rockwell painting and decided to just coordinate my environment with a piece of art, I might use this. So again, I didn't mean to put this in the slideshow. Actually, I thought about it for a while, and I actually don't think it's that terrible. Here's a piece that looks like an attempt at surrealism. This person probably adores Salvador Dali, and they tried to do something in that, I guess, in that vein or on that basis. But I don't think it's a great attempt. I like the eyeball, the all-seeing eyeball, and compositionally, it's not terrible. But I'm not fond of the colors or the line treatment or the edge treatment, I should say. Here's a piece that, again, going back to that first piece with the blue white swirls on the blue background. This one's not ultra terrible. I'm not crazy about the pink background, and again, I don't mean to make fun of this, but it's a little bit too cluttered. It's a little bit too busy. It's a little bit heavy, and it's very arbitrary. I'll leave it at that. Well, here's a colorful piece. Looks like every Tubi color, actually not every Tubi color, but most of the Tubi colors that are in this person's painting set. And it's really interesting that abstract paintings are always large. Has anybody ever seen a small abstract, like the size of a postage stamp abstract? I haven't. I don't think it would have much impact anyway. You need a magnifying glass to see it. Splish splash, having a bash, blah 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 blah. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to run off there on a tangent, but this is partial splatter, partial splash, and partially or almost terribly bad. Um, Again, it's large. I don't know where it's hanging, but I wouldn't want to visit that house. It looks like a tornado of primary colors. There might be a few secondary colors in there, but it looks like the eye of a hurricane. See the eye in the upper left hand corner? That's the eye of the hurricane. Here's an attempt at Impressionism. Um, a bad attempt at Impressionism. Impressionism can't be contrived. That's the thing about Impressionism. If it's not spontaneous, then it's not good. And it's not, I guess, valid, for lack of a better word. This person tried to do a seaside painting, probably Italy or some other coastal city, but a little too busy, a little bit too random, a lot too cluttered, and just a poor attempt at not surrealism. I'm sorry, impressionism. I don't know who this guy is, and I don't know what he's painting, but I don't want any part of it. Do you? Okay, here's one of my favorite splash, I guess, examples of what's going on in this world. As a matter of fact, there's even a guy who's offering a course now, real opportunist, on how to pour paint. He's putting together a whole course so that these lame artists that don't know how to paint real paintings can mix paints in buckets and little cups and pour it on a either a canvas or some other substrate and call it art. So here's the first one in a series. I have three of this particular piece. So here we go. Here's number two. Um, I think she's smearing it with a palette knife. She could have used her finger, but I guess she didn't want to get her hands dirty. Maybe a pair of gloves would be in order. But here's number two, and here's number three. I think there are several after this, but I don't really need to see anymore. Uh, this painter, I'm sure she gets a good vibe out of doing this, and feels that she's an artist, but she's not. Here's some kind of giant attempt at people walking. I see some sneakers there and some legs or things that look like legs. But again, if you have to think too much about what it is, then it isn't. Um, I'm sure this is a hobbyist. This is not a professional artist. So it's just, I would take up knitting if I painted like this. And here's a woman who I think she lives in a foreign country if I'm not mistaken, and she's actually recognized. Don't know by who or by what or why, but nevertheless she's recognized. And when I slandered her artwork online, she wrote me back a sarcastic and snide remark, "Thank you," which means that basically she disagrees with me and she thinks that she's an artist. But first of all, I don't know any artists who work in that kind of clothing or in bare feet or in that particular, I don't know, bodily gesture of leaning over, balancing yourself, and pouring swirls on a canvas of arbitrary colors and lines. But nevertheless, she's got followers, she's got collectors, so she convinced somebody that she's valid. I don't know who they are. I would have stopped at the first painting. I wouldn't even attempted the second one, but those are two good canvases that went to waste, in my opinion. Here's what I guess is a forest scene of some sort, but this person needs to learn a lot about art. And I'm open to teaching them, but I'm not sure if I'm going to succeed. I think this person kind of wasted a lot of paint and really didn't accomplish anything. What do you think? Minimalism. It's one of my favorite terms lately. What exactly is minimalism? Is that like minimally accomplishing a work of art, or is it minimally using color? In this case, they maximally used orange quite badly. And here's one of those giant paintings on a wall, obviously in a gallery, and looked upon by what the art world considers experts in art, critics, or for that matter, stupid collectors. This person might have had this on a floor and dipped into buckets of random paint. In this case, he or she loved yellow, but I think it was done with a mop and a bunch of buckets that splattered paint all over a giant canvas and then try to pawn it off as a giant work of art. They didn't succeed. Um, I did better work than this when I was in first grade. I don't think this is the work of a first grader. I don't know who did it, but they need art lessons. This looks like something biological. Somebody looked like they poured a blue background and took orange and then put blue in it while it was still wet and blew it with a straw, and this is the result. Quite a bad result. Um, could be a way of drying off your brush, but why would you waste two giant canvases to dry your brush off when you got rags that cost you nothing? Just use old clothing. This looks like my palette after I mixed the wrong colors for an unsuccessful painting. I have this one sideways. I apologize, but I don't think it matters which way you turn it. It's bad in every direction. Um, I'm kind of speechless over this one. I don't know what to say about it other than why did somebody do this? This is just a section of a terribly bad, larger painting. Um, it looks like that person was having some sort of fit or anger moment and dipped into a bunch of paint instead of a bottle. This one is actually not terrible. I put this in there just like I put the first one in and had second thoughts about it. Do I like it? Well, not really, but I don't particularly hate it. I think this person could get away with it in certain cases and depending where it's being exhibited. And back to number one, which again is not too terrible. So that's it, folks. I have probably 50 more examples of bad art, but I'm not going to get into it right now. Uh, I think my next segment or topic will be good art. I'm going to show everybody what I think is good art, and this way you can balance out this show and the next show and see if you determine that I know what I'm talking about. So, in the meantime, happy painting, everybody. Hope I didn't offend too many people, and see you next time.